Everyone knows Queen Bilqis submitted to Prophet Sulaiman, but what they don't tell you is the dark secrets hidden in her story. The Quran mentions her. Islamic history celebrates her wisdom. But there are elements of Queen Bilqis's tale that scholars whisper about in private. Aspects so disturbing, they're rarely discussed openly. Her throne wasn't just magical. It was connected to forces beyond human understanding. Her kingdom wasn't just powerful. It harbored ancient secrets that predate Solomon himself. Her submission wasn't just political. It involved supernatural revelations that changed everything. What really happened in that palace? What did she see that made a powerful queen instantly submit to a young king? And why do some Islamic texts hint at mysteries surrounding her that go far deeper than most people realize? The complete truth about Queen Bilqis will disturb everything you thought you knew. Before we reveal what's been hidden, let's examine what makes Queen Bilqis's story so extraordinary and so carefully guarded by Islamic scholars. The Queen of Sheba wasn't just any ruler. Historical sources describe her as governing one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world. But here's what they don't tell you. Her knowledge came from sources that Islamic texts only hint at. Her famous throne, the one that appeared instantly in Sulaiman's palace, wasn't just a piece of furniture. Ancient commentaries suggest it was a conduit to supernatural knowledge, possibly connected to the Jinn world in ways that made even Sulaiman cautious. Consider this disturbing detail. When her throne was brought to Jerusalem, she didn't immediately recognize it. The Quran says it was as if it was the same. Some scholars interpret this as evidence that supernatural forces had altered it, or that multiple versions existed across different dimensions. But the darkness goes deeper. Pre-Islamic Arabian sources, rarely discussed in modern interpretations, describe Queen Bilqis as inheriting power through bloodlines connected to ancient desert spirits. Her wisdom wasn't entirely human. It was supplemented by knowledge passed down from entities that existed before mankind. The hoopoe bird that discovered her kingdom didn't just stumble upon Sheba. According to esoteric Islamic commentaries, it was drawn there by supernatural forces that recognized kindred energy. The bird sensed something in Bilqis that resonated with Sulaiman's own connection to the invisible world. Her initial letter to Sulaiman reveals sophisticated knowledge of psychological manipulation and political maneuvering that suggests training in arts beyond normal human education. Where did a queen in ancient Yemen learn such advanced techniques? Most disturbing of all, her immediate recognition of Sulaiman's supernatural authority suggests she had encountered similar forces before. Her quick submission wasn't just political calculation, it was the response of someone who recognized a power greater than the spirits she had been dealing with. The Queen of Sheba wasn't just wealthy and wise. She was connected to ancient knowledge systems and supernatural forces that Islamic scholars acknowledge but rarely discuss in detail. Her story intersects with the world of Jinn, ancient bloodlines, and spiritual powers in ways that make her encounter with Sulaiman far more complex than simple political submission. What happened when these two supernaturally gifted rulers met? The answer involves revelations that challenge everything you think you know about power, wisdom, and the invisible world. The meeting between Queen Bilqis and Prophet Sulaiman wasn't just a diplomatic encounter, it was a confrontation between two different types of supernatural authority, and what transpired reveals secrets that most Islamic teachings keep hidden. When Bilqis entered Sulaiman's palace, She encountered the glass floor that she mistook for water. But Islamic commentaries suggest this wasn't just an architectural marvel, it was a test of spiritual perception. The Queen's ability to see through the illusion revealed her own connection to supernatural knowledge. Here's what's rarely discussed. Her reaction to the glass floor exposed that she was familiar with similar supernatural phenomena. A normal ruler would have been completely bewildered, but Bilqis adapted quickly, suggesting she had encountered reality-bending experiences before. The darker truth lies in what happened during their private conversations. While the Quran mentions her submission to Allah, it doesn't detail the supernatural revelations that convinced her. According to esoteric sources, Sulaiman showed her visions of the invisible world that revealed the true nature of the forces she had been unknowingly connected. Some of these forces were not benevolent. The spirits that had guided her dynasty for generations were revealed to be among the rebellious Jinn, entities that had been manipulating her bloodline for centuries, using her kingdom as a foothold in the human world. This explains her immediate and complete submission. She wasn't just accepting political defeat. She was breaking free from spiritual bondage that had enslaved her entire royal lineage. Her conversion to monotheism was literally an escape from supernatural manipulation. But the story gets darker. Historical sources suggest that when she returned to SHEBA, she faced resistance from court advisors who were themselves connected to the ancient spirits. Her attempts to reform her kingdom's religious practices triggered supernatural backlash that manifested as political upheaval and natural disasters. The Queen's palace, once a center of prosperity, began experiencing strange phenomena after her conversion. Advisors reported whispered threats from invisible entities, livestock died mysteriously, and crop failures struck regions that had been fertile for generations. The rebellious Jinn that had empowered her dynasty were now actively working against her. Converting to Allah's worship had severed their access to power, and they were retaliating through the spiritual realm. Most chilling of all, some Islamic sources hint that Queen Bilqis paid a personal price for breaking her family's ancient pacts with these supernatural forces. Her later years were marked by isolation, as even loyal subjects feared the strange occurrences that followed her presence. The woman who had once commanded armies and controlled trade routes found herself spiritually isolated, caught between the human world that feared her past and the invisible world that resented her redemption. Her marriage proposals to Sulaiman, mentioned in some sources, weren't just political alliances. They were attempts to find sanctuary with someone powerful enough to protect her from the supernatural forces seeking revenge for her betrayal. But perhaps the most disturbing secret is what happened to her bloodline. Historical record suggests that her descendants faced generations of supernatural harassment as the rebellious Jinn continued to target her family line for breaking their ancient agreements. The Queen of Sheba's story isn't just about submission to divine authority. It's about the terrible price of breaking free from supernatural bondage and the dark forces that never forgive betrayal. The final secret about Queen Bilqis is the one that Islamic scholars guard most carefully: what ultimately happened to her and why. Her story ends in mystery rather than triumph. Unlike other converts in Islamic history who found peace in submission to Allah, Queen Bilqis's later life was marked by spiritual warfare that continued until her death. The supernatural forces she had rejected never stopped their attempts to reclaim what they considered their rightful dominion over her bloodline. According to carefully guarded commentaries, she spent her final years in constant spiritual battle, using prayers and Quranic recitations as shields against entities that could influence physical reality. Her palace became both a fortress and a prison. The most forbidden aspect of her story involves what she discovered about the true nature of Prophet Sulaiman wisdom traditions. The knowledge systems that had empowered her dynasty weren't ancient human wisdom. They were carefully crafted deceptions designed to make human rulers dependent on Jinn guidance. She realized that her ancestors hadn't been wise rulers guided by spirits. They had been puppets in a supernatural scheme to establish Jinn influence over human kingdoms. Her submission to Allah wasn't just religious conversion, it was rebellion against a cosmic conspiracy. This revelation explains why her story is told with such careful language in Islamic sources. She represents both the possibility of redemption and the terrible price of breaking free from supernatural manipulation that has dominated bloodlines for centuries. Her death, when it finally came, was reportedly marked by phenomena that witnesses described as the breaking of ancient chains. The supernatural harassment of her lineage ended abruptly, as if the rebellious Jinn had finally been forced to abandon their centuries-long campaign. But here's the most chilling aspect. Some Islamic scholars believe that Queen Bilqis's experience wasn't unique. They suggest that many ancient royal bloodlines were similarly compromised by supernatural manipulation, and that her story serves as a template for understanding how these spiritual bondages can be broken. The reason her story is told alongside Sulaiman's isn't just to demonstrate the power of prophetic authority. It's to reveal the hidden spiritual warfare that continues to this day between divine guidance and the rebellious entities that seek to control human affairs through deception and manipulation. Queen Bilqis represents every human soul that must choose between the comfortable slavery of supernatural dependency and the difficult freedom of direct submission to Allah. Knowing that breaking ancient spiritual contracts comes with consequences that extend far beyond the visible world. The complete story of Queen Bilqis reveals truths about spiritual warfare, supernatural manipulation, and the price of freedom that most people never hear. Her submission to Allah wasn't just religious conversion, it was liberation from cosmic-level deception. Her struggles remind us that choosing divine guidance over supernatural shortcuts often involves battles that extend far beyond what we can see. The invisible world takes betrayal seriously, and breaking free from spiritual bondage requires strength that only comes from authentic connection to Allah. If this revealed hidden aspects of Islamic history that opened your eyes to deeper spiritual realities, subscribe for more untold truths about the invisible forces that shape our world. Next week, the Jinn who control human bloodlines. Shocking revelations about supernatural manipulation of royal dynasties throughout history.